Okay, so everyone, I think we are live. No mai hara mai. Welcome everyone. So welcome to Tech Week. No doubt you've gone to many talks this week, and we're only halfway through the week. So welcome along to Fronde. So pretty much we've got an amazing group of panelists here today. Now, look, I think we're all here to learn a little bit and understand a little bit more around artificial intelligence and machine learning, and I guess the ways that we're having to adapt more now than ever to all sorts of different areas that are just changing so quickly, and those conditions are changing faster than sometimes we can actually keep up with them. So I guess and hopefully a lot of you are here, including those on the live stream, are here to understand maybe how organizations are exploring innovative new ways to build resilience and grow in this landscape. So everywhere you look, there is an explosion of growth for AI and ML. I've certainly seen a lot of news stories this week on it, how other organizations are starting to use it, maybe wanting to learn more information from it. And I guess, part of that is just understanding what maybe you can take back to your organizations. We've seen so many changes in technology. It's changing at such an exponential rate. Sometimes a bit scary, but sometimes also really exciting. And I think, generative AI is certainly one that's going to be a game changer. And it's a little bit scary, like I said, but it's also mind-blowing. So the focus for the event is what role can AI, ML play in building resilience in these uncertain times? How is ML and AI shaping various industries and businesses, and what are those opportunities that lie ahead? So we're going to delve into some of these questions and hopefully a little bit more. But as I mentioned, we've got the slido.com, so feel free if you are online, please jump into slido.com and you can go to #Fronde. It's F-R-O-N-D-E. Don't forget the E. All right, so our panelists, welcome. So we have Andrew, we have James, we have Katia, we have Azar, and we have Christopher. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get them all to introduce themselves, tell you a little bit about their role, the organisation they come from, and what's exciting them in the AI ML space. Over to you.
Right, thank you. Yeah, hi everyone, I'm Andrew McPherson. I am the Chief Technology Officer at Stuff. Now, hopefully you know Stuff from our news website, stuff.co.nz. Hopefully you go there every day, get your fix of daily news. What a lot of people don't know about Stuff is we also own and operate 43 newspapers as well. 9 of those are daily newspapers right around New Zealand. We also have an events business that organises a lot of events like Round the Bays. We have a community social network called Neighbourly. And what else have I missed out? We've actually recently launched 3 new websites. So our newspapers, The Post, The Press, and Waikato Times, we launched digital versions of those newspapers. So if you get a chance, have a look at those. These are our first digital subscription products that are now available. You can access that local content in Hamilton, Christchurch and Wellington on those websites. So over the last 2 years, we've been re-platforming the business from a technology point of view, all new technology stacks, so we can deliver these new digital products. Part of the consideration while we were doing that was thinking about how we would incorporate AI and ML into our processes. And we really see that AI and machine learning will have a big impact on media and entertainment industry. In some ways, it's a threat and is a bit scary, but also there's some big opportunities there. So I look forward to talking a bit more about that today.
Awesome, thank you. James.
Yeah, hi everyone, I'm James Valentine. I'm the digital CTO for Fisher & Paykel Technologies. So F&P Tech, as we call ourselves, we're an offshoot of Fisher & Paykel Appliances. Our role is to commercialise the innovation IP coming out of the appliances business and to sell that to businesses around the world. Our main product line at the moment is direct drive motors and controllers. Many of you will have probably grown up with a Gentle Annie washing machine if you're a New Zealander or an Australian. And we manufacture millions of motors and motor controllers every year and sell them worldwide. I guess in terms of the digital part of, and so the reason my role exists is that increasingly that hardware side is commoditized. We have a lot of innovation in our hardware. which unfortunately a lot of people try and copy. And increasingly, software is the area where we're able to differentiate and to create that differentiated customer value. So in terms of AI and machine learning, some really interesting opportunities for our organisation around applying those technologies to the product development process, accelerating product development, and also embedding machine learning into appliances in new and creative ways. So that's kind of how we think about it. And yeah, we're excited about the journey we're on. Probably at a kind of an early stage, but it's still interesting to see the potential that we're managing to unlock with what we're doing. So, yeah.
Cool. Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Katia Blakovich. I'm the CEO of Misfit Digital, and we are a digital agency that focuses primarily on e-commerce and helping businesses that are in that space to basically get ahead and beat the competition, right? So everything that we do is pretty much data-led, and I think that should be the preface for most marketers. If it's not, then potentially you should look into that. We basically work with clients to understand what their business objectives are and how digital marketing can be applied to that. So the reason why we are working a lot in this space, obviously from a digital marketing perspective, especially advertising, machine learning's been here for a while, right? I guess when it comes to the new innovations and the accessibility for a lot of businesses, especially small to medium enterprises now that can have a lot more data available to be able to make more strategic decisions around their marketing efforts, it's a game changer. So we're making sure that our clients, based on what they're trying to achieve, are given the right advice, are basically setting up the right metrics for success. And then the other lovely thing we're doing a lot of is being the conduit between the data and the analytics teams effectively and the tech teams to be able to understand what marketing needs in order to produce the results that we need and the optimization accordingly. So thanks for having me, and I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Hey everybody, I'm Azar. I'm a solution engineer at Salesforce, based out of here in Auckland. Now you may know Salesforce as a CRM system. We've been around for over 20 years and we have grown to be much more than that now. So what we prize ourselves in doing is helping customers transform and becoming what you call a customer company. And how you do that is by putting customers at the center of all your interactions, whether it's in sales, service, marketing, commerce, integration, anything in the back end. We can help you with most of those conversations. Now, with AI and machine learning, we're seen as a thought leader. We've been doing AI for a number of years now. Our AI platform generates, I think, 100 billion plus predictions a day. And that's really, really fascinating, right? And AI has been around for a long time now. And with the swarm of media frenzy around generative AI, it's great to be doing a session like this to, what I can say is help you guys start your AI journey or take it further. So looking forward to talking to you about that.
Wonderful. My name is Christopher Menda, and I am the head of technology for Google Cloud in New Zealand. So I have the pleasure of running a team of technologists whose mission, including mine, is to work with customers, organizations, government here in New Zealand to understand exactly what is the challenge that you're trying to solve. And while there are an awful lot of aspects to Google and Alphabet that I'd love to address later on, specifically cloud is one of our methods for going to market with the creations and the inventions and the tools that we've built to solve the global scale challenges that in some cases we've created through a new product or a feature, or have tried to solve because they have always existed, whether it's energy usage or how can you do things synchronously around the entire globe. So taking a lot of those global capabilities and applying them in a way that makes sense for us here. By the way, I've been, as many of you will know, or some of you will know, I've been mortgaged and married into New Zealand for about 20 years. And so hopefully I'm fully considered a Kiwi at this point. And I love putting in my best accent to tell others how things should be done here. So it's truly been a fascinating experience over the last 10 years here, watching everything evolve. And as a lot of you will see, it's going faster and faster and faster, right? So that's one of our mandates, is how do we leverage these tools to help kind of make that journey easier? And that's probably the thing that excites me the most about this right now is even with Gen AI, and I try really hard, we all do, not to say AI every 2 seconds, is all of the new ideas it really brings to the forefront, especially from leaders inside organizations and companies throughout New Zealand, because now we're starting to realize the real global impact we could have with something we came up with this morning. So yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you all very much. Great intros, great panel. So I think what we will do is we'll just kick into it. So starting off here, how are you seeing AI? And we said we try not to say as much of it, but it's going to come out a lot in today's session. How are you seeing it show up in your industry and across your business?
Yeah, that's a really great question, actually. We've actually seen quite a change just in the last couple of years, and where things started, there were a lot of point solutions, and when you think of our business, we create a lot of content, and so we're writing news stories, and we're recording videos, and creating audio for our podcasts, on a daily basis, and then it's flowing through to how that's distributed across our digital or print properties. Now, so right from the start, we saw products coming out like video editing software that would make it really easy to, it would transcribe the video, and then you just basically edit it off the words, and it'd make those transitions really, quick and easy. So we made it really fast. And then for audio as well, doing all the audio transcriptions. And then what we were seeing is, the tools that would help you write news stories that were data, based on data. So you can feed in like sports results or real estate information or financial data, and it's actually able to write a news story for you. And then other technologies that can recommend stories. So on our website we have a recommended stories section. So there's a tool in there that's using AI to actually recommend the most relevant stories that you'd like to see and continue on. So a lot of these tools we've actually been implementing already as point solutions throughout our value stream. And we've seen benefits either in time savings or performance, so like traffic, recirculation. That recommendation panel had, was a big uplift for us, and it's being driven by AI. But what we've seen more recently, particularly with the release, when OpenAI released the GPT-3 model in December, and then on with GPT-4 more recently, is that some of those tools where you needed a specialized tool can actually be done, using this general model, large language model. So you're no longer having to buy a specific tool. So what we would have used that robotic writing tool for in the past, we can actually do the same, talking directly to the AI, the API, the interface on GPT-4, which is the engine behind ChatGPT. So we're able to do that at a much lower price. So we've actually set up a community of practice focused on AI at Stuff, and we've really been experimenting with a lot of the functionality in terms of how we can take our content that's written by our journalists and maybe summarize it or present it in a different way, or create a headline for it. And really it's at a point of learning and experimenting for us in that newer area of generative AI. Also, it's forced us to think a bit more about how we're going to use AI in the business and how we're going to surface that. And one of the things that we've done recently is write our AI policy, where we've got a policy and how we're going to use it internally. And we've made the decision that if we're using AI to generate news articles, we'll actually put something in that article at the top or the bottom, something say this article was generated by AI, so our audience actually knows that AI has been involved in that production process of that article. So because for us, trust with our audience is our number one priority. We want to build that trust, and we don't want to get to a point where we've got a whole lot of AI generated articles and maybe things go wrong and people start to ask questions or start to lose that faith in us. So in summary, we see AI right across our business, right from the content creation to helping write ad copy, helping to distribute and optimize that content. I think the big opportunities for us is around really driving more performance out of that original content that we produce around the country, and being able to reuse it in many different ways, potentially change text to voice to video, and present it in a way or format that people want to consume it. So that's what's happening in media at the moment, but happy to answer any questions you've got specifically about AI in the media.
Wonderful, thank you. And if you do have questions, just a reminder, slido.com. James.
Yeah, so I think a few of my colleagues went up to China recently, have been up for a few years, and there's a thing called Appliance World Expo, which is a massive event around appliances. And so one of the jokes coming back was that every organisation had AI slapped on the washing machine or the whatever, but it was pretty hard to tell actually what AI was actually offering in that case. And I think so in the sense in our industry at the moment, there's a lot of sort of AI buzz that's gone on. And I think now we're starting to actually get some idea of where we can apply this more meaningfully. So I'll talk more about our business, which is, as I said, motors and controllers, rather than about the core appliances business and what they're up to. But we're looking at applying AI in sort of two different areas. So one is to our product development process. So it takes engineering effort to produce new generations of product, and time, and that time to market's a really important factor. So looking at what our engineers spend time on, and how can we accelerate, I guess, the time to market and the time to insight. So putting a lot of effort into understanding lab test data, for example, like machines operating in a lab, data coming off them. So we've got data coming off machines at like 12 kilohertz, so 12,000 records a second, and analyzing that at a low level. So anomaly detection, trying to do correlations and visualizations, and using, I guess, automated tooling to try and help accelerate that time to insight. Also starting to look at, we have a whole bunch of embedded firmware engineers, and there's a bunch of work that they have to do writing classic algorithms that potentially AI could help accelerate the development of those algorithms and help them get faster time to write them. And then probably the most interesting and exciting area is the area of embedded machine learning. And is all the breathless hype at the moment around ChatGPT, and you'll see people talking about hundreds of gigs of RAM and hundreds of billions of parameters. We're putting machine learning models into micros running 32 kilobytes of RAM with 128K of storage, which is quite a different world. So really taking a machine learning model that's been developed in the cloud and shrinking that down, slicing off all the, like lobotomizing, I suppose, like cutting off all the chunks of the brain that aren't needed, to end up with a kernel of a machine learning model that can run in a highly constrained environment. And the reason we need to do that is because, as I said, you've got information coming in 12,000 times a second. You can't send that up to the cloud to get the cloud to do cloud inference on it. You have to do inference on the machine. So trying to look at ways where we can replace classic algorithms with these magical sort of machine learning algorithms that perform better. And that's a really interesting engineering challenge. And we're looking at trying to bring that to market. It raises a whole lot of other interesting challenges around operations and deployment. But I guess it's certainly an exciting area for us because we need to differentiate our products in the market. At the end of the day, you go and buy a motor or a motor controller, you got spec sheets, they all kind of look the same. The behavior of the machine, the algorithms, the differentiated features that you can offer are what our customers are going to buy our product ahead of someone else's. So that's kind of a really interesting area. And then I think we've got so much going on in that area. The whole area of our business we haven't even really started to look at is where we can apply it to our manufacturing operations and all that area. So there's a lot of exciting opportunity to apply it. And yeah, building it with the team and the capability and the data to support that is a key focus.
Wonderful, thank you, Katia.
Digital marketing, well, it's obviously everywhere within our industry. And I think the main thing at the moment is if you haven't seen the amount of new applications, all these tools that are going to solve all of your marketing problems that have come up online, I think we've all got to take that with a bit of caution. And I think everyone, not everyone, a lot of people think that they can become a marketer and create their own social media strategy or write a wonderful converting email by going into ChatGPT and going, write me a sales email. Not going to happen, right? So what we do as marketers in this space, I think, and especially what we do in our company, is really make sure that all of these tools, first and foremost, if we're utilizing it for a client, we understand what the client is needing to, what their objectives are, what they're trying to achieve, but also apply the marketing knowledge, the strategic brain, and the insight to prompt a lot of these tools, right? So I was talking earlier with a few of the people on the panel here about the importance of, when it comes to these tools in marketing, having a centralized data element, right? So a lot of people rely on, no offense, the brain of Google to basically solve all their problems, or they look at Meta just to do that. But a lot of the time, they're relying just on Google Analytics. The attribution models there aren't necessarily great all the time. You're not getting a full view of the customer and what they're doing. So by having a centralized model and applying your own machine learning models and being able to get your own attribution models as well based off your business objectives, you get a lot clearer indication as to what's going on. So that's one thing. Obviously, once you get that indication of, your different segments, how they're behaving, your different life cycles, retention rates, etc., then you can start to personalize a lot of that content based off their actions, right? And then you can start to learn as well a lot more of the behavioral science elements of it, what's motivating people, what they're trying to, testing those kind of elements. And the beauty of having all this is that we get to test and get these insights in a very, very, very fast time, which traditionally, if you've ever worked with an agency before, you get your report at the end of the month and it's too late to make those optimizations, right? The other thing I think is really exciting in this space and for businesses that actually do apply this is it's no news that things are a bit tough. The economy is in a bit of a downturn. I really, really believe that in the digital marketing landscape, if you're taking this seriously and you're getting the right insights and you're overlaying that with macroeconomic data as to what's happening, you're going to be in a much better position to be able to future-proof and develop strategies to make sure that your business or your industry, your business or your I guess anything that you're doing within the company is built on strategic insight. And so for me, that's really exciting in our space. And to be able to help clients develop these tools in partnership with the tech and data teams is obviously a really, really exciting time. The tools now are accessible. Before, for a lot of businesses, they had to have a tech team or a data team to apply this, but with a lot of the developments lately, businesses of all sizes can actually get access to this data and fast. And then being able to work with teams and work with companies to be able to apply this based off their business objectives is just gold. So it's really exciting in my space. And I think if you ask me tomorrow, there'll be new developments. But yeah, that's pretty much how we're working in this space. And as I said, it changes every day.
Thank you. Azar.
Thank you. Maybe taking it off from where Katia left it. She mentioned that it doesn't write emails yet. It will. I'm just joking. I'm just joking. But it's a very good point, right? And this is what I face with talking to customers every day. Is the challenge, especially in marketing. Technology guys can build the platforms, but to run it, and especially in marketing, you need to have a marketing bent. So the question of will it replace humans? I think we're not ready to answer that yet. I think there's a lot more to discover. What I'm seeing as the challenges in this space at the moment is how do you make it real? How is it real? How is it relevant to you? That's the key challenge there. And if you go back to how do you apply AI, some of the statistics say that high performers, especially in sales, 1.9 times the performance. 1.9 times the performance of high performers use AI, and as compared to low performers. So that just one statistic will tell you. Statistics tells you that how important AI is in terms of performance, efficiency, even operational efficiency, and things like that. And if you look at what your customers are telling us, our customers are telling us, is 83% of customers that interact with you want to do it immediately or with a human sort of interaction. So what is that telling us is that our customers have a demand. And if you are looking at building a customer-focused business, a customer-focused experience, then you need to be leveraging AI. And how do you do that? And I think it's at this point, generative AI is really cool. It's got so much potential. But if we look at AI, or if we stop talking about AI and just talk about intelligence, I think that's where we need to start, right? So if you look at intelligence, and I was saying this to some of my fellow panelists here, if you look at the car industry, in the late 80s, they were developing cruise control with laser. That's intelligence. Lexus was designing their first LS series, and they were interviewing high-end individuals on how they use an automobile to make it intelligent, when they open a door, when the light should come on. And that was intelligence back then. So if we put ourselves in that sort of mindset and apply it to our processes today, AI at a base level, at a foundational science level, will give you so much utility in your customer experiences. And those are the types of conversations I think we could start off from, and where we could apply it to every part of that customer journey. So whether it's in sales, whether the customer's filling out a form online, whether they're talking through a chatbot, whether they're got an issue and they're really frustrated and they're typing a complaint out. Think about processes in your everyday life, like when you pick up the phone and you talk to the insurance company and the conversation they have. Sometimes you feel frustrated. Why don't you know this? But if there was if there was AI behind the scenes prompting that individual, that conversation will be so much more enriched. Let's think about COVID. Do you remember? Do we put on masks? Do we get, can we go here? There were so many questions, and we always jumped online. What's the, how long do we need to, you know, isolate for, etc. If AI was implemented there, imagine being able to ask a question. And this goes on to the last thing, I think. What I'm finding, talking to my customers, is we don't know how to ask properly. So that's one of the biggest problems. We don't know how to ask properly. And this is what this new trend is going to teach us, is how to ask properly. And once we become better askers, I don't even know if that's a word, I think a lot of the solutions will come to us.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christopher. I noticed, I don't know if the finger pointing was directed at you.
Yeah, I kept saying this. I'm like, I don't know. I didn't do it.
I'm always frustrated asking Google, right? Why didn't you get me?
But tell us, what excites you, Christopher, about ML and AI?
Look, I think we should just rename it right now, rather than being like a prompt engineer or someone who's prompting a model, where we should be good askers. But I think I really want to pick it up where you started, which was that we really need to think of this tool as an augmentation to what we already do. And, you know, our comfort level with it really often depends on, you know, like your view on something depends on where you stand, right? But it also depends on kind of where you start and what you got used to. We all have probably endless stories about how today's world is completely normal for like my 13-year-old daughter or 11-year-old son, because this is where they're starting. For us, you're like, wow, 5 days ago we were in a room somewhere else saying, I can't believe how fast things were going. 5 months ago we were in a different room saying, I can't believe how fast things are going. So using these tools to kind of flatten that curve back out and reset a new normal, and it certainly is a challenge as we continue to learn, to keep learning and making sure that we don't personally get outstripped by the way that technology is moving, and likewise for our businesses as well. And again, you know, Google is known as a lot of different things, and has done a lot of different things throughout its history since '98. But one of the things that we have been very passionate about always has been open source and sharing back. So whether it is the creation of Kubernetes, not to nerd out on terms, but you know, the de facto container management tools, or any number of different white papers that we've released that have spawned a lot of different discoveries and tools with intent, including, you know, the transformer in ChatGPT was a research paper that was open sourced. So, you know, I like to joke it's ChatGP without Google, but not a company statement. But a lot of that's done with intent, because a lot of times we will then seek solicitation. How do we make it better? We would rather compete openly at the top and say, all right, who really does have the better implementation, the use case for that? But continuing on from then, you know, like generative AI, that's one of the concepts that's been around. Ian Goodfellow, a Google scholar, invented or discovered, I like to say, the generative adversarial network. Some of you may remember the first human face that was generated by a deep neural net. And like, wow, that was amazing. And it was black and white and like, I think 64 pixels. But so we've been part of the conversation for a long time. And a lot of it has meant building frameworks around how you use each of those pieces responsibly. And, you know, Andrew, I think your organization is very advanced in that sense. You've done a lot of the things. You've got your principles set in place. You've got your teams identified, which is often one of the first conversations we have. It's, you know, we point to our principles that we published in 2018 about doing social good and not bringing along biases, conscious or unconscious, and a list of others, including things we won't do, as guiding principles, extensions on your mission statement to say, this is clearly how we're going to do it. This is how we're going to explain it to the public when they have questions about, why did I get this article recommended, or why did I get the search result recommended? And the other piece too, which I really find really fascinating, and I think is super important, it ties into where innovation should really be. In my view, it shouldn't be in a data center somewhere in anyone's cloud. It's about bringing it to where you are, whether that's a mobile phone or a device in a piece of machinery. We need to be able to innovate. Everyone needs to be able to have access to that information and be able to use it where you need it. It's not just necessarily up in the cloud. And at the end of the day, it's really about building your own brain, right? Taking those pieces in a safe way. And so that's what's really changed a lot. I think for us, it feels like the regular old AI models are now yesterday's news, right? They're like warm milk on the counter. Everyone wants Gen AI, and all of a sudden, the conversations we were having not too long ago, which seemed like we're pushing the envelope, are like safe to talk about now. But those are things that really have built a lot of frameworks around it. And those are the frameworks I think we started a lot of the conversations with, that this shiny new club, this shiny new whatever it is, fits into that same governance framework, and it should, which we need to define before we get onto what we think we're going to try to solve.
Excellent. Thank you, Christopher. And I have no doubt what we already know today is going to be different tomorrow, next week. So it's about keeping up with those changes. And Andrew, you touched on it before around the recommended stories,
yes.
and I guess also disclosing when you are using AI for those. And I guess the question that I've got for you is, how are you seeing the AI ML changing, content distribution and kind of the engagement in your industry?
Yeah, I think in media and entertainment, there's a massive spectrum. And I was just talking to someone the other day about the whole concept of trust and what can you trust in terms of content now. And you've probably all seen the news about, someone's voice being captured in a short period of time and then suddenly being used to make a phone call to try and, extort money out of the parents or relatives or whatever. And this concept of deep fakes, so voices can be reproduced and video, pictures, video images of celebrities or whatever. So that's, for us in media, that's really interesting. I guess the other thing too is there's potential for this massive kind of proliferation of content, whether that's, on websites or social media, and you're not really going to know whether to trust that content or not. So for us, this is really, made us stop and think about, what value, do we bring uniquely? And I think, we really want to make sure we position ourselves and continue to provide trusted news so that we're seen as a trusted news source. So that if you see something or, something, that you're not sure whether it's true or not, you can always come to, like stuff.co.nz or one of our news websites and know what you are seeing is genuine news, that, our reporters have been out there and captured that news and it's been sourced kind of ethically and responsibly and genuinely, from a trusted source, so you can believe it. So, I think for us, there is a real opportunity to position ourselves differently from all this AI generated content. But in addition to that, we also need to make sure that you're still generating really high quality content and that we're doing it really efficiently and cost effectively. And that's where all the tools come into play. With the distribution, I think for us it's about just making sure that our content is in channels that can be, that we can get sort of value back for that content. I mean, we provide a lot of content out there free at the moment on our stuff.co.nz website, but that is supported by advertising, and really that advertising, pays for a large amount of that content to be created. I guess a concern for a lot of the media industry is, will these kind of AI engines potentially mean that our news is kind of taken and somehow summarized, and then we don't get that advertising revenue off our website for those news articles. So for us, we're just in normal business. It costs us money to create the content, and we need to make sure that there is value coming back. So that's part of the reasons that we are creating more digital subscription websites. So we've created these digital subscription sites for as I said before, the Post, the Press, and Waikato Times. And really what we would like to do is to be able to capture a lot of that content that we have over the last 168 years, some of our newspapers have been running for, capture all that information and then update it on a daily basis. Put it into our own embedding, or which is a kind of our own trained AI, and really allow people to interact with what would be the history of New Zealand and discover things about New Zealand in different ways, and be able to do some exciting things that you've never been able to do before. So so that's kind of where we're going. Again, risk and opportunity, but we're really focusing a lot on the opportunity of how AI could really enable our audience to interact with all this content in new and exciting ways.
Thank you. So James, I've got a question for you specifically around, I guess, user experience of smart appliances. What ways do you believe, or have you seen AI, ML transform the user experience?
Yeah, I think, I mean, he's mystical, jaded, but I think at the moment, most of the experiences are a little bit superficial. I think we're only now getting to the point where we'll be able to start to offer quite differentiated experience. And I think what that's coming from is really the connected appliance and this idea of the ecosystem that surrounds it. So I think that's going to, as we start to have that flow of data between appliances and like within a home, that context will start to allow for experiences that actually really start to delight the consumer and start to offer them things that to date have been pretty superficial. And there's a lot of work going on in the appliances business around where that's taking it. And certainly what we're looking at is new ways to try and I guess generate data or insight that can be surfaced up into that ecosystem. Is what can we predict? What can we detect? What can we sort of make available so that connections can be made and those experiences can be created? And that's quite interesting. Think about that potential. Think about the whole of home. And certainly a big focus for Fisher & Paykel is around sustainability. We believe that getting carbon zero is really important and that there's a massive amount of work that we can do as an organisation to have a real impact around the world. I mean, washing machines might not be sexy, but everyone pretty much has one in the developed world. We sell millions, our customers sell millions of washing machines every year. And so being able to, I guess, to differentiate and offer like a sustainable experience, to take out that in-use carbon, that in-use energy, and start to think about ways that we can really do something different that customers really value, I think is incredibly exciting and certainly gives some real meaning to the work that we do. And we certainly see a big role for machine learning in AI in general in that area, whether it's helping with design, helping with efficiency, different ways to control and run these appliances, which will start to offer some really differentiated experience for our consumers, and particularly that interplay as people put in solar panels and batteries and have an array of appliances, have an EV as well. How should those behave? How should they interplay? How would you as a consumer expect those things to work in a seamless fashion so that you get the best overall experience and you can deliver to what we believe is an increasingly important customer need around sustainability? So that's a really exciting area of focus for us, and you're really hoping we can bring some innovation to that in the years ahead.
Excellent, thank you. And here I was thinking that washing machines were sexy. So thank you. So Katia, now I kind of have to agree. ChatGPT can't really write emails, and especially what I've seen, not well. But these things may change. So with regards to, I guess, once again, AI machine learning, what ways has customer targeting and I guess personalization changed? What have you seen in that space?
Yeah, thank you. So I guess when it comes to digital marketing online, I guess touching back on what I said before, getting centralized data is key, right? So getting all your first-party data into one element, being able to understand what's happening and be able to understand trends and use that for your marketing insights. And then from the back of that, if you're going to do really rudimentary 101, trading your pixels to get the right information, you get more personalized based off that content, all that kind of stuff. That's great. Where I see a big opportunity is where you can start to think a bit more outside the box. So utilizing data sources or APIs to bring that in on top of your own data. So for example, if Stuff had an open API and we plugged that into a retailer that maybe sold fashion clothes or music, and there was someone trending in music on an article, that could feed into the API and it could update our products on the e-commerce site in real time based off what is in the news, right? So applications like that. And I think being marketers, it's being really creative and utilizing these tools to basically give you a lot more insight, a lot more data, and a lot more competitive advantage across some of the competitors who are purely just relying on their Facebook pixel to deliver content, or their email, the weekly newsletter. Okay, what have we got on the content calendar this week? Like that. Oh my! If you're doing that, you're going to get left behind. And I guess the other thing that really excites me too. Well, it excites me, but I think it's sort of the pain point of a lot of companies is that this is the first time, I've been in marketing in the digital space for 15 years. This is the first time I'm actually seeing marketing teams, tech teams, and data teams come together. And for me, that is pivotal. Like I was talking to Chris, and like I've got companies I'm working with that are the kind of mid-tier level. They're agile, they're utilizing this tech, and they're moving fast. So they're implementing these things so quickly. And a lot of the larger companies, a lot of the larger retailers are taking 12 months to even consider having a conversation. So where I think the biggest value for these, especially from a marketing standpoint, is you need to get the right people in the room. So don't expect your data person to create a marketing dashboard. If you're going to say to them, for example, I'll give you an example. I need to get my kids to school the fastest way possible, right? You give that to a tech team to build, or you tell that to an algorithm that hasn't been trained. Basically, it could cut through the motorway. It could basically, do all these crazy things to attain that objective. From a marketing perspective, if I come in with the parameters and go, hey, here's our target market, it's mums, we're trying to reach them. We need to make sure the output is understandable and fast and easy to understand. We need to make sure that you follow these roads, safety are paramount, and here's the KPIs we need to measure accordingly. That's where marketers come in. We need to be the ones dictating, based off the strategic insights we're getting from a lot of these dashboards, what the data teams need to produce in order to get the KPI results that we need as well. So there's a lot happening, and I'm really excited about it. And I can just honestly, I even see the developments, what's happening with some of these medium businesses that are, compared to our larger companies we're working with, they are killing it. And especially in the economic climate we're in, if you're not the top of your game and you're not utilizing all the data that's in front of you, you're going to get left behind. So yeah, sorry to scare anyone, but that's kind of where we're at from a marketing perspective in this space.
I love it. I think, certainly I like hearing that it's bringing different components and different people together.
Theoretically, it should do. That's you.
I like our Kati's just put that in there. But no, I think it is great because it does have the capability or the potential of doing that. And therefore, you can make faster decisions for, your customers, your organization, whatever that kind of looks like. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Azar, hi.
Hello.
So if you think about the integration of AI and ML, how do you think it's going to change, or how, are you seeing it change the way that organizations use and consume CRM at the moment?
Yeah. Look, that's a big question. And before I attempt it, I'm going to put a safe harbor up here. Because I'm going to talk about a little bit about technology, what Salesforce is doing. Some of what we're doing is generally available. Some of which is going to be coming out in the future. Now, for all the details on that, just head to salesforce.com. But just in a general sense, if you talk about managing your customers' data, what does CRM actually mean? What does ERP actually mean? Where is the divide? But what we're actually trying to do here is build experiences for your customers, build experiences for your team, and create smartness so you can react around your customer, personalize around your customer, and serve them what they want even before they want it. That's the idea here, right? Is creating smartness and intelligence. Now, in CRM world, like I said, with Salesforce, we've been doing Einstein, which is it's the most comprehensive set of AI tools in CRM, the first comprehensive set of AI tools in CRM, and we've been doing it for I think 8 years. 100 billion plus predictions a day, which is insane. So if you look at the intelligence level, intelligence layer there, and let's talk about the basics before we get into the fancy stuff. In sales, we've got things for productivity, right? How accurate is your forecast? And what are the data points you're looking at? And that can be simple intelligence there with data that's in your CRM, because if your CRM is comprehensive, it's going to understand your customer. You just got to connect the dots. You've got things like lead scoring. If you've got leads coming in, which one should you touch first? Very basic things. And then you've got summarizing notes. That's now we're getting into the generative stuff. So if you have a customer that you've been dealing with over a long period of time, you may have so much notes in there. Could you just summarize that into 3 points to guide your salespeople where they need to go? Now that is getting to the generative side. Let's look at service. Now in service, we've got generating responses for when someone asks you a question through chatbots. How do you generate a response? And if you generate a response, how do you vet it before you send it to the customer? Now that sort of platform you need to make sure your agents are taking that action really, really quickly. You've got, now we talked about something a bit advanced there, generating responses. Let's take it back again. Just simple things like, when I'm answering a question, can I just surface the right article internally so that I can get informed before I answer that question? That's simple stuff. You know, we've got that already. And this is the dynamic, right? Is where do you start versus where do you want to go? So answering that simple basic questions. Various other things in marketing with stuff that is not generally available today but will be in the near future, safe harbor, is things like generating the subject line based on what you're trying to do, what your campaign is, etc. When what we have available today is email insights. If a customer sends you an email, can you pick out insights from that? What we have available today is something called Einstein Conversation Insights. So if you're having a conversation with a customer, can I transcribe it? Can I point out what the next actions are that was agreed in there? That's available today. So there's a whole combination of intelligence and CRM that you can apply today. But the challenge is, I guess we go back to it and go, do you, and I was talking to our colleagues here just before, is the saying that, are you fascinated by the technology, or are you fascinated and focused around solving that problem? We've got to really ask ourselves that. Our SVP for AI and machine learning, he told a really funny story recently, 2 months ago, around how him and his children are really big Marvel fans. They love Marvel. So what he was trying to do was get his kids a first edition or first copy. I'm not really into comics, but it's apparently a thing, for his kids. He bought it online, but they didn't deliver it on time. So they sent an email to him saying, you know, I'm really sorry, sad and gloomy, yada, yada, yada. And he read that and he went, imagine if that email was crafted by AI, and instead of saying, we're really sorry we couldn't deliver it, it brought in Asgardian themes and wrote it like Thor. Even though that was a depressing email, it would have just made that experience so amazing. So that's where I want to leave this conversation, is think about those experiences and what you can do with intelligence. Let's forget about AI for a moment. Let's talk about intelligence and experiences, whether it's internal for your users and stakeholders, or it's external for your customers. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. Tough gig to follow, Christopher.
Always is, always is.
So the question that I've got around is, what ethical considerations should organizations keep when they're implementing AI and ML? It's kind of a two-pronged question. And then how can businesses ensure they're using these tools responsibly?
Gotcha, and it's a really long answer too, so I won't give the full one. But yeah, it's all right. So I think it's actually something that came up in the opening. And apologies for the frog method. It only happens like when there's like 100 people watching. And it's to really set your mission statement for how are you going to use these tools. You know, set your AI principles. Again, as Andrew discussed earlier, you need to make sure that you're working towards guidelines. So again, I think it's very important to highlight what that goal is. Again, for us, you know, let's be socially beneficial, number one. Number two, don't reinforce biases. And then I think the second piece really is making sure that you equip your teams, and not just through the product training of the solutions that we have, but also understanding the impact that those actions have. Because again, we have a tool and set of tools that continue to iterate faster and faster and faster with more and more impact. And I think, again, to your point earlier, you know, there's so many different sources of information, like that those natural selection pressures for like the fake stuff or the bad stuff have kind of disappeared. So you have to come up with other ways to show that you have the quality content here, whether that is a subscription service or a way to also use that same tool to detect whether or not there is a fake or something along those lines. And then I do want to tie the ethical conversation back into, you know, what's good from a sustainability perspective. You know, what is going to help us meet, you know, XRB requirements if those are a requirement for you. You know, we were joking earlier, you know, some NFTs are kind of cool, and maybe having some Shiba tokens is kind of cool, but burning down the planet for it might not be a great trade at the end of the day. And that really requires a bit of origin thinking, which was discussed earlier, which is start at the very beginning. And at the end of the day, even with the latest and greatest generative AI, we're really just doing math. We're moving rocks on the beach and counting things. And we're just doing it in a very different way, much faster. Compute, of course, generates heat, and you have to fix all of that, all of the symptoms of that. If you don't generate that heat in the first place, if you can do your math more efficiently, then you can really start to solve or get rid of a lot of these symptoms without having to patch them. And that is some of a lot of the thinking that that we focus on. So around sustainability, we've intentionally gone and wiped our entire carbon footprint back to the founding of 1998. We achieved that in 2007, net neutral in 2017. And by 2030, we hope to be the largest first net zero organization where we don't have to even buy offsets for the generation of, again, of the math that we inflict on the world through the calculations of the problems we're all trying to collectively solve. And then, so that's it around, I think, around the ethics pieces. And then around security, that really is best done when you think about it or try to solve it from the beginning. What's that architecture look like from the start? Maybe one is not releasing a fully fledged or a fully uncontrolled LLM just sitting in front of your data out to the world. We've already heard all the fun stories about sales data and other things. And please, don't put your kids' school scores into that. It's no better than some of the social media websites that have you pick your rock star name by the month you were born and the day you were born and the city you live in, and then you put it out there. So ensuring that the models you're interacting with is super important. And to that end, how to fix that in the beginning is, like we've discussed, is if you can have that model and it operates fully inside your environment, it is like a piece of software that's delivered from a quality vendor, someone that you understand has built it and has things. For example, we have model cards that show these are the weights, this is the model, this is what it does, this is the expected output, explainability that comes along with it. And then you can go ahead and tweak it safely inside your environment. And to the very end, one of the announcements we made around I/O was we've got all of these frozen models that we retrain very frequently, but they're global, different sizes, including one called Gecko, and it will run, for example, on your phone, a large language model, fully inside your private domain, anywhere in the world, doesn't have to be in the cloud. So that solves a few different things in terms of how much power am I going to use and the privacy concerns, especially if you're trying to leverage this for government or students or even for your own private organization.
Thank you. So I've got one question before I'm going to hand it over to the Q&A. This one is going to be directed to you, Katia, and to you, Andrew. So I'll ask it first and I'll give you time to think about it. But what are maybe some of the biggest challenges that organizations are facing when they are adopting AI ML? And I'll start with you, Katia.
Yeah, I kind of touched on it before. I think there's the element of not having the internal buy-in or the teams collaborating together. I think the other thing as well is, I'm going to put my agency hat on here. Agencies that aren't going with the times, I really, really feel are going to be redundant very soon. So if your agency isn't having the conversations with you about this kind of stuff and not coming to you with creative ideas and solutions intertwined with a tech response, I'd be looking somewhere else, to be completely honest. So for me, the biggest thing with my team at the moment, I've been training my whole team up to even get the basic understanding of what's going on, because that's where it's moving to. They need to be able to brief the tech teams. They need to be able to understand a client's problem and what we're trying to solve with it, understand what's going on in the data, then re-communicate back to the tech team what we require if there's any issues and what's feeding back, and then take all that insight and come up with creative solutions for clients. So I think that is, I think not an issue, but I think that's definitely where things need to move. And if people aren't moving in this space and not keeping up to date with what's going on, you're going to get pretty much left behind, or a competitor who is working with someone doing that or an agency doing that is going to, leapfrog over you effectively.
Yeah, in terms of challenges, I think one of the biggest things is really that shift in mindset that is really required to think about how you can use the technology. And that kind of applies in a number of ways. Maybe if you're just using chatbot or ChatGPT or something like that, kind of how do you weave that into your day-to-day sort of workflow processes at the moment? Because because for a lot of people, I don't think the AI is kind of in your workflow. You've kind of got to do something extra to bring it into your workflow. And look, I'm sure Google and Microsoft are going to build it into all the tools, and it'll be right there.
Already there.
And yeah, it's already there.
Yeah.
Well, because I put GPT for Sheets inside Sheets and Docs. It's like an extension you add it in it. You enter your your GPT API code. It's fantastic, but still when I come to writing an email, I still kind of do it the old way a lot of the times, and I've just got to keep reminding myself, hey, there's an easier way for this. Let's do this a bit differently. Let's write a good prompt. And let's be a good asker. Let's get better at being a prompt engineer or asking the right questions. Let's build that technology. So it works, on that personal level, but also from a business point of view, and this really comes to Katia. As a business, you've got to be thinking about, how do I make sure I am gathering the right data so I can then use that data with the models, and so often you want to achieve the result right at the end, but if you haven't done all of that work before that, and I think security comes into that in terms of how are we going to secure our data, how are we going to collect it, how are we going to present it to the models, train the models, use the models, and remember to use the models. So I would kind of put that all into that frame of mindset, and that's why I think it's really good to start following the blogs or the newsletters or whatever that are talking about the sort of AI and ML technology that's coming out every week, and sort of keep it front of mind, because that'll help you, I think, start to adopt that mindset. Seeing what tools are coming out, and also see the case studies of what other people are doing. So that would be kind of the biggest problem I see, and then kind of maybe a potential solution.
I mean, literally, put on your favorite podcast on the commute home tonight, and one of your personalities will be having a deep conversation about it. And, get educated.
Excellent, thank you. All right, so James, you're on the hot seat. So a question that we've got that's come in is, for non-technology organisations, should they develop AI-related capabilities internally, or should they wait for products to be built and continue to be consumers?
Yes.
Great. Thank you.
So I think it's both. In so much that, how I think about it is, if it's available as a service, you can get it and it meets your needs, and it's not differentiated, it just gets the job done. You can consume it, take it. So we've built an app that we're using, and we need text to speech in it. We just use Google's text to speech to generate that, right? Why wouldn't we? It's easy, it's quick, it works, it gets the job done. When we're thinking about core differentiating technology, so in our case, differentiated algorithms that will run on microcontrollers, that's a unique differentiating advantage. That's our IP. We'll develop patents around it. We will protect that. That's something we will develop ourselves. And so that's really sort of the spectrum. And so when we think about it, when we talk about how to solve a problem in our business, and this isn't just for AI ML, it's for any kind of application. It's not like, can we just get it, right? Can we just buy this pay-as-you-go serverless, or pay per request or whatever? And is it good enough? And will it get the job done? Will it move our business forward? Then we will just simply consume that and use it that way. Where we feel that the investment is worthwhile and we will deliver differentiated value from it, then we will expend the technical energy. We'll put the engineering effort in. That said, we do when we do that, we are generally building very much on top of the open source world. As much as possible, we're gluing together the collective genius of the world to try and bring that to bear. So trying to use as much that's available to really quickly get us moving forward, and hopefully we can contribute back to that ecosystem in the years ahead as we get some of that success.
Can I take that question?
Absolutely.
Sorry to jump in, but I think I've got a strong point of view on this, and I talk to customers about this every day. And I'll give you an example. I talk to a lot of high-tech customers. High-tech being their software developer customers, or they're developing something on their own. They have a team of developers. And the question I pose to them all the time is, do you want to spend your time, energy, resources developing technology that already exists, or do you want to spend that same time in developing your own product? And it's very common for them because they have a team of developers and programmers and architects. They're like, we'll just create a CRM. Well, if you're creating a CRM, you're not creating your own product, which is not generating money for you. So think about it in that sense. If you're going to request money from your board to invest in AI, they're most likely going to say, what is it going to make more for me? The answer probably is nothing, because it's just going to save you money. So think about it in that sense. If you're investing in a technology project and someone's going to sign that check, what are you giving back to them? And that's where a lot of technology projects fall over, is because when it goes to the board, you're asking for the wrong things, and back to ask the right things.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And to your earlier point, fall in love with the problem, not the technology or the solution. That's going to change. Find the right level of abstraction for what you're trying to solve, and you'll have the answer for the board.
Excellent, thank you. All right, I've got quite a few questions here, but I'm just going to choose one. And Christopher, I'm going to put you on the hot seat.
Right.
But it actually
No
it's got a great segue into Katia, what you mentioned before, which is around data sets and making sure that you've got them and that you're using all of them. But the question is, how important is it to have large data sets when starting out with AI machine learning? But are there alternatives for those that have limited data resources? So Chris.
It depends.
You guys are great today.
Yeah. So any other questions? So like it really will depend on, so for example, who uses Gmail in the room? Yep. So who else was initially annoyed at the sentence completion? Even myself, I was typing it out and I'm like, wait a second, who is the robot if I'm doing it? Fine, tab complete. Large language model used in a very specific way. And that's a scenario where the only data you need is basically nothing. You're just typing sentences, and many of you will probably notice it starts to finish them in the way you kind of write, which is kind of cool. And you're like, okay, but it's a comfort level thing, right? And use it as an augment to yourself. So that's probably at the very little use of data, where you only need the very present data that you're working with at that very moment, like whether it's a text to speech or whether it's something else. And then the deeper you go, so you might have other capabilities that you're looking at. And this is a space where a lot of us are trying to bring AI back into the world that we've spent many years developing, which is software development, CI/CD, all these processes, and all of these highly trained professionals that understand that process. So for example, for every machine learning scientist or data scientist, there's like for every 100,000 of them, there's something like 2 million software devs. So if we can kind of make this world workable in that software dev space, that suddenly means you have a lot more capability and understanding of how to do it safely and at scale. So where I'm going with that then is that takes it away a little bit more from having to deal with lots of data. So that's where we and others would provide, for example, frozen models that you can start with. And those might be good enough, or you might then tweak them with your domain data. And in that case, we might be just doing one of two things. One, it's asking and learning how to ask correctly and quite literally, and configuring how creative you want the response to be, or how factual you want the response to be, or flippant, or sound like Thor. And that's, again, requires very minimal input, maybe only like 10 examples perhaps of what you want. And then you can get a little bit deeper, where you might have a whole set of documents you want to throw in, and that might be 100 or 1,000. And then you get very deep, where you're collecting 12,000 samples a second across multiple different motors and trying to understand the anomalies and truly building your own at the end of that day. Now, it goes into marketing as well, right? If you're looking at tagging customer interactions, and all of these things are the same. Doesn't matter if it's small or large. Garbage in is garbage out, and a lot of the same methodologies that we understand already will predictably give us good or bad outcomes. So yeah, I mean, it does depend. Now, if you do have a big data problem and you have large sets of unique data, there are a lot of methodologies that have been in place with non-exciting, non-gen AI that will apply here as well.
Can I just add quickly on that? So I'm not just a marketer who does all theory and doesn't put it into practice, right? So I also have my own e-commerce business, and I started that basically because I wanted to, I love, it's in a gin industry, so I love gin, but secondly, I wanted to be able to use it as a test case for a lot of these technologies. And we don't have a lot of data sets. It's a Shopify store, we use Klaviyo, we use Google, and we use, from an ad perspective, and we use the Meta Suite, right? So not huge data sets, it's not a huge company, but I use it as a test case. So what I very clearly did is I got a team in touch with the developer. I know enough to be able to brief properly what I'm trying to achieve, right? And what output I need. So on a very basic level, we've been operating for a year on this fin year. I've been able to look at our costs. I understand now what all of our metrics are, what our KPIs are based from a business standpoint, but also on the website, what our conversion rate needs to be, what our retention rate needs to be, what our lifetime value needs to be. All of these KPIs and metrics can be fed into the model, and basically we get an output that optimizes based off all of these. And now with the generative AI stuff, even if you have no idea how to analyze stuff, it can basically feed out basically your data. Hey, today you need to optimize this. These are the applications that are going to be in real time, right? So it doesn't need to be big data. Here we go. It doesn't have to be scary. This is fast stuff moving. And this is to, the point about not creating your own tech. Like this is on BigQuery. Like it's done very, very quickly. These are all APIs that can be plugged in. So sorry if developers are freaking out, but it's not about losing your job. It's about adapting, and it's about finding the best way you can leverage these technologies to support the business goals.
Yeah, totally. I mean, we were all copying subroutines from a variety of different websites in the first place, so it's just a little bit faster now. Yeah. No need to recreate.
Excellent. Thank you. So look, I'm going to start wrapping it up there. We did have a couple of polls running through Slido as well, so I've got some of the results. So what we had is a question which is, are you regularly using generative AI tools such as ChatGPT or Google Bard? 56% of the people have said yes, they are. So we're seeing a lot more people using them, which is great. Another poll that we had was, does your organization have, and I think, Andrew, it was you, maybe talking around it, does your organization have a generative AI HR policy to ensure customer data is not being put at risk? 50% of respondents said no, that they don't have one. However, 17% said yes, they do, and 33% said it's under development. So it's certainly something for you to take away and think about, that's for sure. Now, while our panelists have been talking, I've been taking some notes. So I thought I would just kind of summarize the session. I'll just come out here. So a couple of things is, I loved it. Be better askers. I really liked that. So that really resonated with me. So I think that that's something we can all take away from today's session. Talking around technology problem solving. So what is it that you're trying to do? Are you just trying to keep up with the technology, or do you actually want to go and solve some of these amazing, these problems with the amazing technology? Talking around internal buy-in, and I guess having that shift in mindset. So that's something really, really important as well. And something that I took out of it was, retain your trust by being transparent with, I guess, where information is coming from. It can assist you in being scalable. It can create efficiencies. Talked about bringing teams together. Now, at the beginning of this, I talked that sometimes it's scary. AI, ML, the rate that it's changing can be quite scary. Probably after today's session, I'd like to say it's a massive opportunity for everyone, and it's really up to you what you do with that opportunity. But you've got this amazing group of panelists who will be here. If you want to ask questions of them, they'll be around. So I just want to thank the panelists. So thank you very much, Andrew, Jane, Katia, Jane, and Christopher. Thank you all very, very much. And I hope you've all taken away some insights and things that you didn't know, and maybe if you did know it, it might change tomorrow, because that's the way that technology is moving. So thank you all very much. Enjoy your afternoon. Thank you.